All right, everybody, welcome back to Scratch the Vinyl. This is your friend, your best friend, Kane Stevens, the podcast guy. I've also got DJ BJ. I almost said BJ DJ, but whatever. It all works. Brooke Johnson up in here. And then we got Randy, Mr. Chill himself, the party monster, Wilson. And we have a special guest, everybody, a guy that I'm super excited about because, if it wasn't for this guy and me listening to guys like this when I was younger, I probably wouldn't have wanted to be a podcaster, but I've always wanted to be in radio. So it's great to be able to talk to this guy. But let's give a round of applause for our friend, our new friend, EJ Marshall, everybody. Come on.
Good morning, EJ.
Hey, guys. How are you doing?
Good, man. I remember listening to you on the Blaze. I can remember hearing you on a bunch of different stations. You were on B107. You were on, what the Bone kind of turned into, you know what I mean? Those stations. You were just on a bunch of different airwaves. And I can remember even seeing you at shows, like when I would go to different things. I mean, I might be wrong, but I swear I saw you at a Seven Dust show one time. And I tried to talk to you, and I was some nerdy kid. And you probably were just like, get out of here, you little nerd. But you were cool, man. You were pretty good to me.
Oh, that's fun. Hey, I got Seven Dust right above me.
That's right. Forget if it was at like the Grove or something, but I can specifically remember wanting to talk to you about Seven Dust, but I was such a dork, man. I was probably just stumbling on my words and falling down.
Too funny.
I've actually known EJ a long time, but I was always scared to go up and talk to him too.
I don't think I was. I think I just went right up to him like, "Hey, buddy," and then gave me a big hug, and then we went and danced somewhere. Right? It was.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's kind of like approaching, the Animal and Sparky too. I don't know if you are friends with those guys or.
Oh yeah,
they're great guys, but they're all obviously very approachable. Like when I went to the Greta Van Fleet show, I went to their remote before then, and I had to go run over and talk to them and tell them how big of an influence they were on my. And thanks for giving me wrestling tickets years ago and all that type of stuff. But man, the Blaze in particular has been like pivotal in my life. Like, I mean, I played metal as a young musician. I wanted to be every band that was on there. And it's just, it's so refreshing to talk to some, but for you, I really want to know what your musical tastes are because it's interesting to me with these DJs getting these, are you big into metal, obviously, or are you into a bunch of different stuff? What do you like?
I like every format that's out there. Just depends on, the mood that I'm in. But, when I first started at the Blaze, actually, I knew nothing. All I knew about rock music was Kiss and AC/DC. And then since I was going to I actually ran all the music for the Blaze. And so I had 2 weeks to kind of fake it, for lack of a better term. But it was a great learning experience. And then I just got hooked after that. So it's good times.
Of course, back then, the only Kiss song they'd ever play on the radio was Beth, which was the slowest, ballad.
Right.
Play that about every 10 minutes, like on a loop, just over and over.
Well, I had to do a lot of I guess background type stuff before I even got on there. But like with Kiss, I had a buddy when I was growing up, and I lived in California at the time. And it was Kiss Alive 2 that had come out, and that I was like, wow, this is new. This is not Parliament, this is some good stuff. So, it kind of got me going when I was a young kid, and then coming back to it, after college and things like that, it was wow. It was great. Those first few years of the Blaze were, pretty eye opening. So
with the Blaze, because I know Matt, and he kind of helped me get into KFRX a little bit, guest stuff, and it's so different than being on the news or being on a podcast, or it's faster. You have to be on your feet. You have to, like you said, you kind of just fake it till you make it for a second, and then you do all these things. So how did you get into the Blaze? Was it just serendipitous and somebody said, "Hey, come on in here, I love you"?
Well, it's kind of crazy. So we had So the Blaze used to be on 106.3. And when I got out of college, this was, let's see, the spring of '88. And it was actually I guess the year before that, I started working for a station called KHAT. And it's kind of like the B107 back then here in Lincoln. And it was actually out on the Rock and Roll Farm, which was about 49th and Yankee Hill Road, which was just fields back then, just a little, we called it just a shack out there. Well, our ratings, they tanked. After a while, we turned into a station called Mix 106. And then my name on Mix 106, we had a great consultant, and he made all of our names MM names. So all of a sudden, Marvelous Marshall was my name on the air. And I'm like, yeah, this ain't going to work. So anyway, we did great our first, ratings period, but then we tanked. And our owner, he was out of Texas, and he turned us into elevator music. And that was Radio Hell. And of course, we got the worst ratings ever in the history of Lincoln radio. And so he was about to, throw in the towel. And then around that time, there was a station, KFMQ. I don't know if you guys remember that from way back in the day. And they were the rock station in Lincoln back then.
That was my favorite station.
And, they were it. They were just the staple of Lincoln rock radio. So they were there, but they were getting a little too fat and happy. And so they fired a couple of their people, a guy named Gabe Baptiste, and he was a program director. He had come from Denver. And so he came over to us, looking for a job. And this is the elevator station at the time. And he started doing sales for us. Well, as he did that, as our ratings, like I said, they were like pretty much a zero. Again, it was elevator music. And so we were going into the next ratings period. And he said to the owner, he said, hey, can we try this type of station? And this was in the fall of 91. And so he said, sure, do whatever you want. But we already had the transmitter sites up, the transmitters that we had come in. And so for a day, they ran this metal station. And it just out of the blue, just ran this metal station. And all of a sudden, the phone lines are lighting up. I don't know how people found out, but then this went on for about 24 hours. And then pulled the plug on that because it was just, filling time before we became actually the elevator station. So that happened. So spring comes around after the ratings and dismal ratings. And Gabe says to the owners, hey, can we try this again and see what happens? And so the owner says, you know what, we're going to be pulling the plug on this thing anyway. So yeah, he did. So we ran the best radio promotion of a new station ever. So what we did, this is going to be the spring of 92. So it was March 2nd, 1992. I'll never forget. So we spent the whole weekend, and what we did is a wheel of formats. And with this wheel of formats, what we did is, well, first off, that weekend, we knew what we were going to be, but we put out all these, just flyers up all over campus first, and then we threw them up all over, all over town, wherever we could. And basically it just said, hey, listen to 106.3 on, the upcoming Monday. It might have been a Tuesday, but whatever it was. And so we, kind of had a small sampling audience that we started out with. We didn't know what was going to happen. So anyway, we're going to do this wheel of formats. So our sound effect was, you got this big roulette wheel and we spin it, and then we would land on different formats. This was the precursor to, Sirius Radio pretty much, because we had a Disney radio station. We had a sports station. We had a hip hop station. We had a rock station, country. We did everything. Children's station. It was everything. But we did about, 10 3-minute, 8-minute segments of these different formats. And we'd play them, and then we'd do a sound effect like, yay or nay, the boo signal or, something like that. or yay, stuff like that. But what we did beforehand, the weekend before, is we all cut our own different type of, fake formats that we would throw on this wheel of formats. And so as we did that, the phone lines started lighting up all throughout. We knew what we were going to be, but nobody else out there, in radio land knew what was happening. Panic at the other radio stations across the city, was happening, so the buzz has started. And I think I cut a hip hop one. I cut a hot AC one, like a B107 one. And we had our own sound effects and everything like that came with it. But anyway, it was a good, fun time. And then about 1:00, we finally land on it, just ding, 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 ding. It's like, here it comes. And then it was how we started the Blaze. And then after that first week, the phone lines, it never stopped ringing. It never stopped ringing. So and this is when my learning curve started with the Blaze, because I had to, do all the logs. Every single log I did I was there for 12 years. So every day, every log, there's kind of a science behind how you listen to music if you pay attention to it. But anyway, it was a good time that first week. And then my thing was, I'm like, oh man, here, I don't know if you guys have seen Smokey and the Bandit, but you've got, there's the sheriff is there. And then, so I go to our first remotes. Here I show up, and people are like, wow, you look a lot taller than you did. You look a lot taller than we thought you were on the radio. And I'm like, yeah, taller. Okay, I get it.
Taller.
I was in college at that time at the university, and I remember that now that you bring it up. I just didn't know the history on it, but I think that might be the first time I met you was during that time, because we would show up to those remotes because it was such a hot buzz in town, because we kind of had been stuck with kind of just a couple radio stations for quite a while. And it was refreshing to have something everybody was talking about. Plus that early 90s music was, just a whole new genre of music. And it was so good. And you guys were the only ones really playing it.
Yeah. And Randy, with that, what was funny about it was like perfect timing. Because the Eagle, that had been around for, I think, a couple of years about that time. No, probably about 3 or 4 years. And they were kind of going after KFMQ, but they could only go after like a partial demographic, the upper demographic of KFMQ at the time. Well, KFMQ, Q102, they started getting lazy around this time. And they were like, you had the younger crowd. And they're like, well, I don't want to listen to, Led Zeppelin for the 900th time. And then all of a sudden, you got Pearl Jam that came out of the woodwork. You've got Alice in Chains. You've got all these, newer groups. The Seattle sound started coming in. And this is what we started to play. And then the other approach that we had with our station, so back then, it was like rock radio. It's like you play the song, and then you talk, and then you play the song, and then you talk. Well, we took it as there was a few stations across the country, and we were called like an active rock station. That's what we were known as. And there were probably 5 stations across the country. We were one of them. And what we did, it was like a top 40 approach to new rock. And so it's like we're talking over, the end of songs. We're talking over the beginning. We're talking up ramps on a song. That's unheard of back then. So, and it just sounded different. It was a fresh approach. And then I'll never forget our first concert that we had, because it was, the first big one. We gave away tickets to Guns N' Roses, Metallica, and Body Count. They were down in Kansas City, down at Arrowhead. And all we could afford at the time, because we had no budget. So we had 2 15-passenger vans. But back then, what we did is we made $25 sound like $1,000 promotion. So we make it as big as possible. Hey, you guys, your chance to get on the party bus, KFMQ rolls up in two, these big ass like buses with their listeners, and we're right alongside of them in our little 15 passenger vans, but we made it sound cooler on what we were doing. So anyway, we took these vans down, and then we got to be, intimate with some of our early fans and stuff like that. So that was a great time. So, but that was my first huge concert first rock concert. Then like we get in and, Metallica, this was right after James, I think he burned his arm. So it was right after that. And then we had to wait, of course, the mandatory 2-hour wait for Guns N' Roses to finally come on. Well, at this time, the Arrowhead, they're showing the crowd. And I'm looking, I'm like still trying to get used to this. I'm like, oh man, these rock people are crazy. And then all of a sudden they're showing the fans. And then all of a sudden they're zooming in on all the women. And then all of a sudden I'm looking, and all of a sudden, of course, they're flipping their tops up. And I'm like, this rock stuff might not be too bad. So I mean, it's like everywhere. Guns N' Roses comes on. And then it was, then that's how everything just got started for me. I think we used to do Friday afternoon clubs, and that was our FACs. And we did this for every Friday for probably, let's see, I was there 12 years, so probably about 13 or 14 years every Friday. We would go to a bar around town, wherever our salesperson could get a bar. So 4:30 to 7, have people come down, and we would get paid to host a remote at a bar, FAC. So we get paid not only to drink, but get paid to tell people to drink. So that was a good time, but we have all kinds of promotions there. We go, back then, we probably went to at least 30 or 40 different bars in town. And
I'm not going to lie, I participated in a few of those.
Those were fun. Those were.
I think we need to get that started again. Kelly's, we could just, we can come down here and get everybody drunk and talk about music.
That's what you do, and that's what we did, and that's how. I still have people coming up to me today. And of course, their name is Hey You, because I don't know what the hell their name is. But hey you, do that a lot. But,
you look taller.
Yeah, not as tall as I used to be. My tallness, I guess. But we gave away so many different things, and eventually we started giving away the big things, like trips to, wherever it might be, whatever concert might be. But, a lot of great stories developed along the way. And it was good times. It was a lot of good times, though.
For sure. So I have a question. I know you talk about all these wonderful, you remember all these cool things that you've done. What is your most memorable moment being on the radio, whichever station, whatever it is? I know you have to have one. And your favorite part about radio. So memorable. I'd love to hear this story. I'm sure that, is there women involved?
Well, there's a couple. I got a couple. So we had a thing called Blaze Stop, and that was probably 94. So we had a concert downtown Lincoln. I think it was in August. So it was like 110 degrees. Didn't anticipate that on the black cement down there, but we got in a parking lot. I can't remember what building it is down there now, but it was fun. Jackal, of course, was the headliner, but it was an all-day thing. And it was a parking lot right by the night before.
Yeah.
So it was.
I was just gonna say, I remember that. Yeah.
So the upstairs of the night before is between there and where the Beacon is now. There's an upstairs area. Well, that's where the bands changed. So and then we would go back there, because that was kind of the backstage area of the parking lot, and so we just go across there. We had to go to the bathroom. So I went across. I think I was with Tim Sheridan, who was in the morning show with Animal. Went with his wife, and we go walking in, and we're walking through. And then all of a sudden, it's like looking at a car accident. And so I look over to the left. And I go, oh, well, that looks like one of the guys from Bruce Dickinson's band. So Bruce Dickinson used to be the lead singer of Iron Maiden. So two guys are, they're standing there, and I look over, and I'm like, oh. And then it, like I said, it was like a car accident. I see this young lady down on her knees, and I'm like, well, what's she doing down there? And then I look, and her head is going from the left to the right, to the left, and to the right. And then I go, oh. And then I notice that these two guys in the band, their pants down around their ankles. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't think I'll ever forget this. So that's the first thing I talked about Monday, because I said, EJ, what's the most interesting thing you saw this past weekend? And I kind of described that, but how you describe that on regular radio is, yeah.
So I understand that feeling when you're trying to describe something or say something, and they have that little 3-second delay just in case.
I was like, wow, she's got a strong neck, because she's just back and forth. But that was a great night. But then Jackal plays later on, and I got she's still one of my dearest friends today. She will remain nameless right now. But she was probably 20 at the time, 21. So she's backstage. She wanted to meet Jesse James Dupree. And so she's backstage. He's about to go on. I go, Jesse, here's my friend. And he goes, oh, and she goes, EJ, look over there. So I'm like, huh? So I look over, and I turn back. I go, what? And she's got her shirt up, and he's signing her breast. And I'm like, oh, my. So anyway, so that was fun. And I still give her crap about that to this day. But I mean, it was.
The signature still on her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she hasn't washed it, right?
I know, I ask her all the time. Do you still have Jesse on? Do you have Jesse on that side and James Dupree on the other? So I don't know.
You should see how many I have.
Well, I'm pretty sure that event is what kind of made Jackal a favorite in Lincoln, because they did a thing where they played in multiple cities in a short period of time.
Yes.
And Lincoln was the last one.
Yes.
And I remember that event, and I've been able to do some promos with Jesse before, and the guy is phenomenal. Like,
yes.
I'm just going to tell the fans. I tell you what. So we did a record signing thing, a CD signing thing for him down at one of the bars before one of their shows. And let me tell you what, his schedule was packed. But I tell you what, that guy took time to sign everything, to take pictures with everybody. He even told me he wanted to know where Pioneers Park was. He had a couple that had asked him to marry them out at the park.
Oh, I remember that.
And I tell you what, and they go, he was on this timetable, but I tell you what, he didn't act rushed. He still took the time. I tell you what, that guy, there's a reason why that guy's a success, because he knows how to treat people. And as soon as you brought that up, I'm like, God, I remember that. And like I said, I've had a couple opportunities to do some promos with Jesse, and I love Jackal, and that's why Lincoln loves Jackal.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. So they're actually, I believe, from St. Petersburg, Florida, and somewhere around there. But we actually, back then, we're pretty much responsible for breaking Jackal, like how they became famous. So that's why they always played here all the time. And Jesse always gives props to Lincoln, because we played the crap out of Jackal back then. But there's a few other bands that we played over the years that became huge. Let's see, Seven Dust. Of course, we mentioned Seven Dust earlier. They're one of my favorites. And my ex-wife, she actually used to work for the Blaze as well. But she big, huge Seven Dust fan. Disturbed was another. Disturbed actually played at the it was at the Grove. They opened up for Danzig, and we played them. And this is actually when I was running. I actually ascended up to be the program director of the Blaze, and so this was probably late '90s, early 2000s, and so Disturbed, our Samantha Knight, who used to work at the Blaze. She's down in Nashville, Tennessee now doing radio. But she would come to me with new music, and I give the yay or nay on what we played. And so Disturbed, and it was like one of those, hey, I can name that tune in 3 notes type of thing. But it was just amazing, the first song, that we heard. And so I said, oh, this is not going to be good if they're opening up for Danzig, because Danzig was on the way down, and here's this new band coming in. So Disturbed came in, they blew Lincoln away. It was packed that night. Danzig came on, and I think, people had left, and he was pissed, but, he's a little guy. So, we just kind of shoved him out the door type of thing. But that was a great time. It was great seeing things like that as far as new bands getting exposure and then just exploding like weeks after that. Creed did the same thing. They played we had a $1.06 show. They played at the Old Guitars and Cadillacs. And within a week, they exploded. And then we happened to win a national contest, as far as it was like an internet contest, who can get the most likes on whatever it was. But we actually won. And we did a free concert for Creed here in town. And we had that at Pershing. And that was the most stressful. I had just become program director probably a month before that. So they come to me, they say, hey, we have 300 tickets. Can we have a small, intimate show? I said, yeah, sure. So we had to figure out how to give away all these free tickets. We had to get into our sales team so they could, get clients, blah, 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 all that kind of thing. Well, I got people mad at me because they're not getting free tickets, and it's just stressful. Day of the show, because we were going to have it just a small, intimate thing at Pershing, got turned down by the Grove a couple of times, but we said, okay. So anyway, then the record promoter comes to me the day of the show and said, hey, we're going to open this up to, let's go, 4,000 more tickets. I'm like, that's 4 hours away. So we had to come up with a way to give away all these tickets. We just did a free-for-all down in front of Pershing. I think that's how we did it. But that was very, very stressful on how we did that. But it still turned out good. Sparky, he got backstage with him. And let's see, Scott gave his son Scott Stapp gave his son a guitar that night. So Johnny Bliss, he's a rapper, local rapper in town, but he was like a 10-year-old kid at the time, but he got a new guitar from him. So that was good. And we headed over to Pears after that to, relieve our stress with plenty of beers that night. So it was good times. But yeah, gosh, you guys, so many memories. But I got to tell you my number one.
Now seems like a great part of the show to do a little bit of our sponsors. They're not necessarily keeping the lights on, but I can tell you that they are supporting this show, and we are supporting you, the fans, the people who are listening, by giving you guys the best products out there. So let's run the Elegant Sasquatch commercial, and then we will cover some of the local sponsors that we have.
Hey there, human friend. Are you tired of your beard looking like a bird's nest after a windstorm?
Whoa, what? Who's there?
It's just me, your friendly neighborhood Sasquatch. I couldn't help but notice your, rustic beard situation.
Right? Thanks for pointing that out, Bigfoot. But what can I do about it?
Fear not, my follicle challenge friend. Introducing the Elegant Sasquatch Grooming Company. We specialize in grooming products that'll make your beard as majestic as a redwood tree.
Elegant Sasquatch? Sounds fancy. What do they have?
We've got everything a discerning Sasquatch or human needs to keep their facial foliage in top condition. Beard washes to cleanse away the forest grime, beard balms to tame those wild whiskers, beard oils to nourish and hydrate, and beard butters to make it as soft as a bunny's fur.
Wow, that's quite the lineup. Why should I choose the Elegant Sasquatch, though?
Because, my friend, we believe in sophistication for our outer beast. Just because you're a Sasquatch or a human doesn't mean you can't be classy.
I never thought I'd hear a Sasquatch talk about sophistication. All right, you've convinced me. Where can I find these products?
Head on over to the elegantsasquatchco.etsy.com and use the code SUPERSHOW to save 20%. Your beard will thank you.
Thanks, Sasquatch. I'll make sure to check it out. And hey, maybe next time we meet, my beard will be as elegant as yours.
Now that's the spirit, my friend. Happy grooming.
All right, that was the commercial for the Elegant Sasquatch Beard Company. You can find them on Etsy. Go get those beards looking like gold and smelling like, I don't know, any good smell that's not a egg-filled, disgusting beard. Your ladies will love it. The Brooke with the red lips will give you a big old kiss, and you'll be golden, and you'll have it made in the shade. Also, we want to get to some of our local sponsors. We want to get to, we have some new commercials coming up for them also here very soon, but we have the Sly Ink Tattoo. Go see Bryce. Bryce is over there on North 48th Street, and he is he's given the best tattoos in the business right now. I mean, I personally go to him. He is my only artist for that type of stuff, and he has been for years, and he's finally getting me away from those disgusting, tribal tattoos that I once thought I needed, and he's giving me something that I can truly be proud of. So go see Bryce at Sly Ink Tattoo. We also have, for all you musicians out there and people who love instruments and music in general, go to Roots Music Shop. Go see Ryan. Ryan's down there, really very close to the university main campus, and he just has. I mean, I can't thank Ryan enough. I've been a musician for years, and I've been going there since the very first day one. And one example I can give you is there were times when I had gigs those nights, and I would need to be strong. I would need something fixed. I would need a new microphone like ASAP, and I would go there to Ryan, and Ryan would always take care of me. He would always help me. He would do it quick. He would help me make it affordable, and I can't rave enough about Roots Music Shop. So go there, get those instruments fixed, buy yourself new and used instruments you can trade. You can also get, more importantly, you can also get your favorite records there. He's got a great selection of used vinyl, and you could scratch the vinyl with him whenever you'd like. Just he probably doesn't want you to do it at the store. So go see him. Another one to mention would be, I know that we've had Your Turns Karaoke talking to us. I know Amy really well. She has shows throughout town. I know she has a show at Huskerville Pub in the Air Park area on Northwest 48th, I believe every Saturday. So go see her and just keep supporting the karaoke and music scene. Karaoke is important to everybody. So go support her at Your Turns Karaoke. And that's all we have for this week on sponsors. So I hope you guys are enjoying the show, and our guest EJ, formerly of the Blaze and many other stations. And now let's get into what he thinks is the top thing, one of the craziest things that's happened while he was during his time in radio. So stay tuned, buckle up, and I hope you guys are enjoying the show.
So we had to go to a lot of radio conventions at the time. Well, at the time they had the big one was out in L.A. So it was out at in Hollywood. So, or actually in Beverly Hills. So we're at stayed at the Beverly Hills, whatever famous hotel that was there. And what they did is they said, hey, we've got a special thing we're going to do for all the rock program directors around the country. So there were about 50 of us. And so right before we loaded onto this bus, there was a new rapper that came out. He was out by the pool area doing a showcase. It was Ludacris. So we see Ludacris for the first time. I'm like, hey, I think that guy might be something. He might turn out to be pretty good. Well, yeah, of course. So they take us, these rock people who are already starting to drink, And they're taking us around LA. We end up at the Playboy Mansion. And we're like, you're kidding me. So we're in the back. Hugh Hefner is back there. It's packed back there. So we go in, free drinks for everybody, and it's like, get whatever you want. I think Three Doors Down might have been playing back there. And here's Hugh walking around with was it the Daimler triplets back then? So they're walking around, and I'm standing there with them. I've got 2 drinks in my hand, and I'm speechless. Here's Hugh, who comes up to, like, I don't know, my titty milk's here. And I was like, damn, what the hell? So anyway, so that was cool. Drinking. And then comes my most memorable time of this trip. I go to the Grotto, and you see there, it's that big pool area, and it's cool. But I'm like, oh my God, my head is spinning. And naked women, they're running around. It's like, oh my gosh. Go into the bathroom. I swear my head was spinning around with a projectile puke. I puked at the Grotto. So that was just
your DNA is all over it.
It is like over that wall, missed the toilet, and hit over there on that wall. So that was my claim to fame. It's the first time I'm telling that publicly. I think
you heard it first here on Scratch the Vinyl. You heard it first here on Scratch the Vinyl.
Yes, that was a good time. And then the next day, we had to go to the big, speaker thing and all that. And Bill Clinton was the speaker. So here I am, hungover, and he introduces his favorite singer. Stevie Nicks comes out, she sings. And I think Brandy was at that as well. So she sang something. So, events like that were fun. But I think the most fun is probably meeting a lot of the people here in Lincoln and then still running into a lot of them. And a lot of them became really, really close friends. And I got to give props to Sparky and Animal because they're still there at the Blaze. They're still keeping that thing going as best they can. They're kind of getting dicked around by a lot of, the background with the radio type, how the radio world works. So, but yeah, they're still hanging on. And yeah, I give much props to them. So we're still a radio family. We still keep in touch and things like that.
So I don't know if you remember this, but I did a huge promo with the Blaze back in the day, kind of when they're starting out, my big Rockin' Bowl at Gateway Bowl.
Oh.
And we did a contest. There was a local band called Seed, and they were a Creed cover band. And so we did this huge event. It was probably the biggest day I ever did out there. And so on the radio, the way we gave away those tickets was they would either play Seed or Creed, and you'd have to call in and tell them which one it was.
That was my idea. I remember that. Yes.
Dude, that was my biggest promotion ever. So thank you.
That was fun.
That party went all night until 5 or 6 in the morning, and my whole staff was dead and had went home, and there was only one guy left after being up for 2 days straight to clean it all up and be ready for the next day, and that was me. And I needed a week to survive, to recoup after that. But that was one of the funnest events I ever did. And we had the bands come out and play on the lanes, and they just rocked it. Right. It was awesome.
I forgot all about that. That's right. Oh man.
Yeah. Nyla Fenster, she was the salesperson back then that I know she's passed away, but
yes.
And those were some, you bring up all that stuff, and those were some good times back then when the Blaze kicked off. And like you said, I was kind of an Eagle, the Eagle fan. They were playing the classic rock, but there was, like I said, that early 90s, that was a great transition of music. And like, you guys were the only ones that were cranking it out. And I just remember so many people just being excited to tune in. And it's like Midwest always gets everything last, but there we were finally getting what was kind of happening on the airwaves at the time.
We did a lot of first back then, and we had no budget, so we had to be creative with everything we did. We had to stretch dollars left and right, so we just made a lot of fun type promotions. Like this is a Cedar Creed. Oh my God, I'm gonna laugh at that all day.
So EJ, you brought up Kiss Alive 2, which was one of my favorite albums at the time. But do you scratch the vinyl? Do you got a record collection, man?
Oh yeah, I still have every piece of vinyl I have ever made. So I've got, all the freebies I got from the Blaze. But my first album I actually purchased with my own money when I was 12. It was actually a Parliament album. So I still have that. It was, let's see, Funk Intelligy versus the Placebo Syndrome. It had that song Flashlight on it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Flashlight, but that's a bumping tune. But I've got everything from let's see, soul and R&B from the 60s and 70s. I've got a lot of rock from the 80s and 90s. My favorite all-time group, Earth, Wind and Fire, and then of course I've got my girlfriend right above me here, Janet, Miss Janet Jackson. So I've got everything from her as well. But it's it depends on what mood I'm in. My Spotify is crazy, and I like to make my own playlists. I like to get back into that radio mode, using all my radio tricks from back in the day. So, but I've got several playlists, and I've got I'll listen to everything from Seven Dust. I love Seven Dust, but I can segue that into, let's say, some Snoop Dogg. I can segue that into some Otis Redding. And then we can go into James Brown. And then we can go into Peter Frampton. I mean, I love me some Frampton. I love me some Steely Dan. So I love all types of music. I was a music major for a bit in college. So I was I was in the marching band for several years. And so it's fun time. The music has always been a part of my life.
EJ, that's amazing. It seems like you have the type of taste that I do in music. I have the same thing. I have Satan's playlists of everything you could think of. Parliament really strikes with me. Something that really stands out to me is that radio is changing, and kids, it's weird, but kids aren't really listening to it. I have teenagers right now, and when I put on the actual radio, they're like, bleh, what is this? And I'm not shooting down the radio, but, they're more into playlists and Spotify. And so, I start rediscovering myself, and I put together these monster playlists. I play basically what you were, which was a program of my own, and I start putting together all these playlists. And one of them I was putting together, I got hot on Chuck Berry, not too long ago. And I mean, you want to talk about putting on a clinic? You're a music major. I got onto an album I'd never heard. It's a 1971 album, San Francisco Dues. And this is prime Chuck Berry. This is not Johnny B. Good. This is the funkiest bass you've ever heard. This is if you guys aren't listening, go back and listen to this album, and it will absolutely blow your mind. How do you feel when you listen to Chuck Berry, man? I mean, he's putting on a clinic, is he not?
Yes. Chuck Berry he's probably one of my top 10 favorite artists ever, and musicians even as well. He's a pioneer. I mean, when he's not, doing his side gig of taping women in the bathroom. But he's actually he's great. I mean, Chuck Berry was the king. He was the king of rock and roll.
Well, he was in the later albums. It's not just him, smashing guitar. I mean, there's some intricate stuff. I mean, he had a hell of a band behind him, obviously. I mean, He was the king. But we like to, on the show, we like to talk about quotes and lyrics and everything. So, I mean, what you just said hits perfect on the lyric that I wanted to bring up today. So this was off of the title track for San Francisco Dudes. It says, "Come on over to me, baby. I want you to satisfy my blues. I want you to let me know how much you really love me. You could tell me any old way you choose while we lay back and dig the music and pay our San Francisco dues." I mean, man, does that not tell you about Chuck Berry in one verse?
Yes. Yes.
So I just, when I hear that stuff, it instantly makes me smile. Like what music means to me might mean something different to you, but music, like anything that comes up in my playlist, is something that instantly brings me out of a bad mood, brings me out of my depression. I don't need pills. I don't need anything. I just need my playlist and music.
Music, and it's so universal. It brings people together. And you know what? Here in town, there's so much local talent that is just amazing. There's a band in town now that I've always actually wanted to get together, the Church of Blues. You got Levi William and a few other musicians that are in there. And those guys are... It's just amazing. You guys ever get a chance to see them? Church of Blues, that whenever they play the Zoo Bar, they play an early 5 o'clock show. It is standing room only.
We are having Levi on the show here on the around the 27th. I've been friends with him for a while. I go and talk to him at Dietz, so I'm excited that you say that because it's a great plug for an amazing musician.
Well, tell Levi his uncle said hello. His dad was actually best man at my wedding. So great friends. I'll share with you guys sometime a story of with Levi. Actually, we got a picture of him. He was 8, and he's out at his patio playing guitar, and I'm in the foreground there. And so it's he has come such a long way, but he is amazing. And oh man, yeah, he's one of the best out there. He's a good dude.
He might be one of the best guitar players in this city, to be honest with you.
Oh. There's no doubt.
Like you said, we have some great local talent. It's just crazy.
Yeah, EJ and I've I've ran into him a few times. Maybe we went to the same after hour parties a couple times too. Some local bands that we went to go see, and we got a lot of talent around here. And,
yes.
Yeah.
You guys put on a great show. This is amazing.
Oh, thanks, EJ.
You guys are awesome.
I'm still stuck on the rubberneck thing that you're talking about.
Dude,
I wonder which one of my exes that was,
She was very talented. Very talented.
I know the girl. Well, I wish we had more time. We would love to have you back, EJ. You're radio royalty. You're one of the reasons you and everyone from the Blaze that I got into this and many other things, including being a musician. So before you go, I do have one last question. We touched on Kiss a couple times, and I want to know what rank are you in the Kiss Army?
Oh man, that I do not know. That is a good question. But I do love me some Kiss, though.
It all depends on how much money you put into the Gene Simmons bank.
I'll say not one dime, but honorary though. I do love me some Kiss, though. I do love me some Kiss.
Maybe when we're all said and done, we're all going to meet up. And would you sign Kane's chest, maybe? And you could use my red lipstick and give him a nice little kiss on it.
Yes, of course.
Is that your Kiss ranking? Okay.
Sign my milkers.
Do a little tweak in there. All right. We got it.
Well, man, I really want to thank you for coming on today. And you brought up some great memories. I get to be the old guy on the show, and you know, all the stuff you were talking about hit home for me right in that, my late high school, early college days where I really got into that kind of music. And man, I appreciate that, everything you've done.
There's still some great guys here in town that with the Eagle, with a lot of great radio talent still in town. So kind of give them their support, because I still got my idols, radio idols still running around doing their thing. And, without them, I couldn't have done what I do now and what we did. A lot of this young talent that they're now, they're doing great. Shout out to Matt McKay as well. It's a great comeback story. Good dude.
We just want to thank you for being on the show, EJ. I know that we gotta go now, but like all good things, this thing has to come to an end for now. So
all right, guys. Thanks for making my weekend. Bringing back some memories. Love it.
Appreciate you.
Oh, we love you so much, and I cannot wait to hear more stories. I mean, I could sit forever and just listen to you. I love it.
All right. Thank you so much, EJ, for being on the show. We appreciate you so much, and we will see you again soon. And everybody stay tuned for another episode next week of
Scratch the Vinyl.
Yeah.